Okay, let's talk piecewise functions. A piecewise function takes a number of functions and puts them together with limited domains. So what I like to do is I like to see how many functions I'm talking about. This piecewise function has 3 different pieces. So it has negative 2x minus 7 when x is less than negative 3. So off on my x-axis here, let's write down the x-axis right here. On the x-axis, when x is less than negative 3, 1, 2, 3. So when it's negative 3, but not including negative 3, but everything less than negative 3, we're going to be talking about a linear function, negative 2x minus 7. And then the next piece is the absolute value of x plus 1, and that's going to be a certain picture between negative 3 to positive 1. And 1 is going to be an open circle for the green function. And then the third function, I can count 1, 2, 3, the third function is going to be a quadratic function when x is greater than or equal to 1. So you can see that we have a yellow section, a green section, and a blue section. So this yellow section, and I'm going to end up erasing this, but this yellow section right here is going to be a linear function. And then the middle function, which is your middle section, which is your green function, is going to be right there. And then to the right, that third section, this section right here, is going to be a quadratic. Okay. Now, negative 3, negative 3. So where one function stops, the other one begins. So when we stop the yellow function, we're going to have an open circle when x is negative 3. And over here, we're going to have a closed circle when x is negative 3. And I'm going to do this in a different color so that you can see. Now, look here. This green function stops at 1, yet the blue function starts when x equals 1. So because it's less than 1 and not equal to, it is going to be an open circle, and this one will be a closed circle. So I'll show you what I mean as we go through. I would write that down, make sure you've got it. If you need to hit rewind, go ahead and hit rewind, because I am going to make it go away so that I can actually plot my graph there. Okay, so x equals negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. Let's start with negative 6. When I put a negative 6, I'm going to put a negative 6 into the yellow function. So I'm going to put a negative 6 in, and when I put a negative 6 in, negative 2 times negative 6, negative 2 times negative 6, minus 7. 12 minus 7 is 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful. I could actually use my slope right now if I wanted to. Down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. Or I can continue to use a table. Down 2, right 1. But when I put a negative 3 in, x does not equal negative 3. So it's going to be an open circle when x is negative 3, because it's going to go right up to that point, but not include it. So we've got one section done. Now we're going to move on to the next section. I'm going to put a negative 3 in again. This time, negative 3 is included in this green function because of that equal sign. So when I put negative 3 in, the absolute value of negative 3 plus 1 is going to be 2. So you put a negative 3 in, and you get a 2 out. And this time, it is a closed circle. Notice how it's going to pass that vertical line test because one circle is open and the other one is closed. When you put a -2 in, -2 plus 1 is -1, and the absolute value of -1 is +1. When you put a -1 in, you're going to get a 0 out. And remember, this is going to continue because look at all that green area from -3 all the way to +1. When I put a 0 in, I get a +1 out. And when I put a +1 in, wait a second, it's not equal to +1, so it's going to be an open circle. When I put a +1 in, I get a +2 out, but it is an open circle. So I have an absolute value graph in that middle section. And then we have our quadratic graph, the quantity x minus 2 squared when x is greater than or equal to 1. When we put a 1 in, 1 minus 2 is -1, and -1 squared is +1. That value is included because of this equal to sign. So when you put x equals 1, you get a 1 out. When you put a 2 in, you get a 0 out. 2 minus 2 is 0. 0 squared is 0. When you put a 3 in, 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. When you put a 4 in, you get 2 squared, which is 4. And this is a curve that continues to go to the right forever. So because, let me show you. Okay, so this is like a pointer, so just follow the dot. Because this arrow is going to the left forever, that means that this graph is going to go to the left forever. Because this arrow is going to the right forever, it means that this graph on the right goes forever. But here in the middle, this yellow stops, so the graph is going to stop right there. In the green area, that's where the green domain begins. So it continues and then it ends at x equals 1 without including 1, so it's an open circle. And then you can see where the other graph that does include 1, it does include 1 right there. It starts and it goes forever.